Hello, Jennifer. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
All right. So, when they swear us in, we want they won't ask us to stand up or nothing, will they?
I think you just
I don't know.
raise your right hand.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I think I look okay from the waist up, but no good.
You're good.
All right, thanks.
Hi, Jennifer. Jennifer, this is Joanne. Can you hear me? Jennifer, this is Joanne. Can you hear me?
I can. What's up?
I just wanted to say, I don't know why it's not letting me show my face.
Oh, well, let's see.
When I click on start video, it says,
Oh, no, this could be a me problem.
okay. Thank you.
Jen, it's a you problem.
No,
It says you won't let us in.
yes. That's weird. There you go.
Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Emerson, how are you?
Fine.
Hey, Emerson. Hey, Bud.
Hey, Pam.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Hey, Laura.
Hey, some of us took a shower and got dressed up for tonight so that we can celebrate.
Yeah.
Should we ask you to stand up? See if
No.
it's a full.
Yeah, it is. It's a full outfit. Oh, no, it's a full. Unlike the fellow on Zoom this morning that perhaps Pam saw who dressed while we were watching him.
Did
Really?
anybody say anything?
Did you see him, Pam?
No, I had to get off a little early, but was that at the end?
No, it was right in the very, very beginning where
Oh, I
he
didn't-
came by without his shirt on and then he dressed and he went in the bathroom and he put his.
We're broadcasting.
Wow.
Yes, I know.
Okay, just making sure.
It's
Well,
okay.
it's a warning for other people to remember.
Yes, it is. It's a real warning to
Yeah.
remember.
Sure had another nice day today, didn't we?
Yes. It was nice.
Need to unmute. Is everyone hearing me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay.
It's not.
I don't know what's going on. I took off.
Okay, I think we just need the judge to turn his video on.
Okay. How do I video? Oh, start the video. There we go. Sorry. All right. And I do need to remember to have Emerson raise his right hand. Katie has told me like think 5 times. Don't forget to tell him to raise his right hand. Because I did that once.
I remember.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well. Uh-oh, somebody's got a phone call. Am I ready to go?
It'll be just a few minutes, Judge.
Okay, fine. You tell me when it's my
Okay.
turn.
Thank you.
Yeah, it'll be a few minutes, Jim, it'll be a few minutes. We have a few items on the agenda
Oh, okay.
before we pull you in, so.
Okay. All right. Well, I will wait patiently.
Can we call this meeting to order? Do we
Yes,
have
ma'am.
everyone, pardon me?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, okay. Then that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and we'll start with a roll call. Katie?
Mayor Welsh,
Here.
Councilmember Palomo,
Here,
Councilmember Arnold,
Here.
Councilmember Bliss,
Here.
Councilmember Franklin,
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
All right, our first agenda item is one that I wish we were in person to do a major celebration, and that is we want to recognize and celebrate Bud Palomo, who's been with us now for 4 years. And Bud, it's usually, I think a lot of us have a few things that we want to say to you and about you. I have quite a bit, but I don't always want to be the first one. So if someone on council would like to say a few words about Bud, I
Sure.
hand it over to you first.
Mayor, I'm happy to go first here. And one of the things that will strike all of us who have been in contact with Bud on the council, and I think people who've been to our meetings, is Bud is not your typical politician. He's quieter than many of us, very thoughtful. The man I have never seen seek attention for himself in any situation whatsoever, and that is certainly atypical of a politician. And he always waits until he has something important to say to speak. And most of the time I have learned that means he isn't going to encourage us to make a plan for what we want to do and hold ourselves accountable to that plan for what we want to do, because that's the way you get things done. And I think that might resonate. I saw this on somebody's t-shirt over the weekend, and it made me think instantly of you, Bud. And it says, oh, let me find it on my piece of paper. A goal without a plan is just a wish. And I think one of the things that you've made clear to me is we don't have a lot of time for wishing. We ought to spend much more time on planning. And I thank you for that. And I thank you for your thoughtfulness. You've been so kind to me. And the really good news is we get to see your dedication to our community continue in just different forms. So thank you.
well, thank you, Laura.
But I'll go next. It's been a true privilege and joy to have had the opportunity to work with you, learn from you, and serve with you over the past 2 years. You're a remarkable individual and a true public servant in every sense of the word. I knew I could always count on you to challenge my assumptions, ideas, and proposals in a very respectful and deliberate manner. Our discussions and debates have enabled me to become a better public servant myself, and has challenged me to understand and appreciate alternative ideas, opinions, and viewpoints. I thank you for your willingness and for your example to engage not only with myself, but everyone that came before council and the Webster Grove citizens. But from, as the youngest council member to the oldest council member, I want to say that because of your service, Webster Grove's a better place, and we are going to sorely miss you.
Thank you very much, David.
But I'll go next. I want to thank you for your community service. We've only had a chance to work together one-on-one for a year, and that was a very productive and year for me is learning. I do listen, and I learned a lot from you and some of your goals that you have for the city. I'm sure this team of council members will do our best to continue that progress that you have started with strategic planning. You have echoing Laura's comments. That's one thing that you always pushed is for that planning, and hopefully we'll continue that. I want to thank you for your, like I said, community service, leadership, and the advice. You always took the time to talk to me when I called, and I do appreciate that level of concern. So good luck, and I'm sure this won't be the last time that we'll be talking, and hopefully not the last time that we'll be seeing you in community service. Thanks again for your service.
Well, thank you, Emerson.
So Bud, I just wanted to let you know that it's evident by your diligence and your dedication to your role as council member that you really care about our community. You're very persistent, and I like that because it's not a roar. It's just kind of a very steady voice that you've had on council. I have learned from your guidance and the way you exemplify your actions. So I'm going to miss you, but no worries. I know where to find you. Thanks.
That's good.
Thanks, Pam.
Well, you know, Bud has served on the city council for the past 4 years, and for myself, I'm really glad to have gotten to know you. I appreciate your work, but I also appreciate you very, very much as a person. You have come with a very wide view of what your role is and trying to make the city a better place to live. You are always very gracious about your time, offering your talent. You seldom miss a meeting. One of the things that Bud has given us for the last 4 years is a very, very strong support of the business sector. And Bud, I hope someone walks in your shoes with that, because you've been to all these meetings of the various business commissions and the BDC and the old Webster Trade Association, seldom missing any of that and serving as really a valuable link. And for those of you who are new, you should know that Bud came with a really strong idea about redevelopment, and we really have to credit him for his support and his passion for us doing a redevelopment project. And Bud, I hope you stick with us on that. Bud's always been active in the North Webster neighborhood, always going to coalition meetings, making friends with folks in North Webster, and I think people learn to count on him. And his financial skills. I know he took a very special interest in the budget, and he spent a lot of hours working through the details of that budget. Bud has also been very kind with a good, kind word for staff, and that is always appreciated. I know, Bud, you've gone to some staff meetings. I think you've sat with the police in some of their morning meetings, and our staff appreciate that connection with our council members, and thank you for doing that. So I'm going to miss you. You are one of the kindest, most thoughtful, and gracious people in this community. So don't stay away from us, okay? We're counting on seeing you. Anyone else? All right, Bud, you have a gift there that has been delivered to you, and it's a gift from the city for your service. And so now we turn this over to you. You can open that gift and say whatever you want.
Okay, well, thank you, Jerry, for those words. It's overwhelming. Yes, this is very heavy. I want to be careful. Oh my, wow. Look at this. Gazebo around the corner from me.
Oh, wonderful. Nice. Yay.
Very nice, Bud.
Isn't that beautiful? Wow.
Very thoughtful.
I've got just the space for it down here in my office den lounge area. So much. Thank you, everybody. And thank you all for those kind words. I really appreciate that. I love all of you. I think you know that. I do want to say a few words, if you don't mind. This might take, I'll try to stay close to 3 minutes, but might be a little bit over. So, thank you, Mayor. First, I want to thank the folks of Webster Groves for giving me the chance to serve on the council for the past 4 years. And I want to personally thank you, Mayor Wilk, for your 22 plus years serving virtually as a volunteer to work tirelessly on council matters, for sharing your knowledge of state, county, and local governments, and your leadership on issues of importance to all in our city of Webster Groves. It has truly been a pleasure to work with the mayor and the council members. And I'll talk about that. I'll just read their names here. Matt Armstrong, Ken Burns, Frank Janoski, Greg Miller, Tony Hunt, David Franklin, Laura Arnold, Pam Bliss, and Emerson Smith. It's been my pleasure. I learned a lot from each of them, and though we did not agree on everything, I always found their hearts to be in the right place for the greater good of the community. In just a few minutes, the newly elected council members, Karen Alexander, Sarah Richardson, and Emerson Smith, who will switch from appointed to elected status, will be sworn in. I'm so very pleased, and I know they will listen well, and work hard to achieve the city's goals. I also learned a lot from City Manager Steve Wiley, his department directors and staff, and I very much appreciate and thank them for always being helpful and dedicated to the well-being of the residents, businesses, and institutions of Webster Groves. I want to thank our firefighters and police for their difficult work and dedication to our safety, and also the Public Works and Parks and Recreation folks for their hard work maintaining and improving our amenities. And personally, I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to meet and get to know many folks from all around the city that I probably would not have known otherwise. Now, I want to talk for just a couple of minutes about the future. As we all know, our country and the rest of the world are going through some very tough times right now, dealing with both a pandemic and civil unrest. I've been around for a long time, and I remember demonstrations and protest marches going back to the 1950s by mostly just African American demanding something that they should not have had to demand, and that is just to be treated equally. Since the 1950s, however, I've seen some laws in society moving to correct some aspects of inequality. And over time, I've seen demonstrations and marches with growing numbers of white and other minority Americans joining with African Americans. But it has taken too long. And I know that we have yet a long, long way to go before African Americans and other minority races can experience the same basic human rights of equal treatment and equal justice afforded to white people. I was heartened and inspired, however, by what I saw and heard a week ago Sunday at Blackburn Park and this past Sunday at Ivory Crockett Park. I heard students and graduate students of Webster Groves High School speak painfully about personal experiences of racial bias and inequality, and their determination to accelerate critically needed changes in schools and justice systems. They remind me of something I heard Robert Kennedy say during the country's turbulent times of the 1960s, after his brother, President John Kennedy, was assassinated. He first described the current state of the Union, and then he paraphrased a statement attributed to George Bernard Shaw by saying this: "Some see things as they are and ask why. I dream of things that never were and ask why not." The students and others who spoke at Blackburn and Ivory Crockett have not only asked why not, they're also leading actions for change. And I know they will someday be able to say, "I dreamed of things that never were, and now they are." I firmly believe that the work that is yet to be done, the community of Webster Groves can be that beacon of shining light on a hill for others to be guided. So be well, be kind, and thank you all.
Very good. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Bud. Thank you. All right. Let's move on. Our next agenda item is the approval of minutes. And while we still have Bud, Bud, would you like to call for the approval of the minutes?
Yes, Mayor, I call for the approval of the minutes of the last meeting.
Second.
Second.
Any issues, changes? Let's call for the vote.
Councilmember Palomo,
Yes?
Councilmember Arnold,
Yes.
Councilmember Bliss,
Yes.
Councilmember Franklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Welsh.
Yes. All right, we have a couple of pieces of unfinished business that we will do while Bud is still with us. First is Bill number 9123, and I'm going to ask Councilmember Bliss, would you call for the third reading?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to call for the third reading of Bill number 9123 and its subsequent adoption.
Second.
Bill 9123, third reading. An ordinance defining the classified service of the city of Webster Groves, fixing the compensation for employees in said classifications, and repealing ordinance 9075.
Are there any issues or questions? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote.
Councilmember Arnold,
Yes.
Councilmember Bliss,
Yes.
Councilmember Franklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Welsh,
Yes.
Councilmember Belomo.
Yes.
Bill 9123 has passed. Councilmember Arnold, would you call for 9124?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to call for the third reading of Bill number 9124 and its subsequent adoption.
Second. Bill 9124, third reading. An ordinance fixing the compensation of persons in the unclassified service of the city of Webster Groves and repealing ordinance 9076.
Any questions or issues? Let's call for the vote.
Councilmember Bliss,
Yes.
Councilmember Franklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Welsh,
Yes.
Councilmember Belomo,
Yes.
Councilmember Arnold.
Yes.
All right, and with that, Bill 9124 has passed. Our next agenda item is a review of the votes cast in the municipal election on June 2nd. And this was the election that was postponed from June 7th due to COVID-19. And I need to read these out. The votes cast in the general municipal election on June 2nd, 2020, which was postponed from April 7th, 2020 due to COVID-19 are as follows. For council member, Emerson E. Smith won a council member position with 3,013 votes. Karen Denise Alexander won a council member position with 2,534 votes. Sarah Green Richardson won a council member position with 2,354 votes. Dan Meehan received 1,274 votes. Kathy Hart received 2,067 votes. Proposition 1, Charter Amendment on the City Attorney changes passed. The yes vote, 2,607, no, 1,589. Proposition 2, Charter Amendment to revise and amend the charter passed. Yes votes of 3,358, no votes 796. All right, and with that, we're going to begin with Resolution 2020-19, which is a resolution declaring these members eligible. And David Franklin, could you call for that resolution, please?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to call for the passage of resolution number 2020-19.
Second.
Resolution 2020-19, a resolution declaring 3 council members for 4-year terms.
Any questions or issues? All right, let's take a vote on this.
Councilmember Franklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Welsh,
Yes.
Councilmember Belomo,
Yes.
Councilmember Arnold,
Yes.
Councilmember Bliss.
Yes.
All right, we are now moving to the oath of office to be administered to the newly elected council members by our municipal judge, James Whitney. And so we will do this with each individual person. And Jim, I think we'll start with you and Emerson Smith.
All right, I'm ready.
Tim,
Mr. Smith,
right hand.
would you raise your right hand and repeat after me? I, Emerson E. Smith, do solemnly swear
I, Emerson E. Smith, do solemnly swear
that I possess all of the qualifications required by law
that I possess all the qualifications required by law
for the office of council member
for office of council member
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Missouri,
and of the state of Missouri,
and all laws affecting constitutional charter cities,
and all laws affecting constitutional charter cities,
including the Charter of Webster Groves,
including the Charter of Webster Groves,
that I will faithfully perform the duties of my office,
that I will faithfully perform the duties of my office,
that I will not knowingly receive,
that I would not knowingly receive,
directly or indirectly,
directly or indirectly,
any money or other valuable thing
any money or valuable things
for the performance or non-performance of any act or duty
for the performance or non-performance of any active duty
pertaining to my office,
pertaining to my office,
other than the compensation allowed by law.
other than a compensation allowed by law.
Congratulations. You may,
Thank you.
you may put your right hand down.
Thank you.
All right.
Emerson, there are 80 participants on this, and I hope all 80 of them are clapping for
Oh,
you
wow,
at this moment.
great.
So congratulations.
Thank you, Jerry.
It's a shame we're not out there with all these folks to celebrate with you. All right, Karen Denise Alexander, same thing.
Ms.
Judge-
Alexander, Ms. Alexander, would you raise your right hand? I don't see you yet, so I hope you have your hand raised.
We see her.
And repeat after me. I, Karen Denise Alexander, do solemnly swear
I, Karen Denise Alexander, do solemnly swear
that I possess all of the qualifications required by law
that I possess all of the qualifications required by law
for the office of council member,
for the office of council member,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Missouri,
and of the state of Missouri,
and all laws affecting constitutional charter cities,
and all laws affecting constitutional charter cities,
including the Charter of Webster Groves,
including the Charter of Webster Groves,
that I will faithfully perform the duties of my office,
that I will faithfully perform the duties of my office,
that I will not knowingly receive,
that I will not knowingly receive,
directly or indirectly,
directly or indirectly,
any money or other valuable thing
any money or other valuable thing
for the performance or non-performance of any act or duty
for the performance or non-performance of any act or duty
pertaining to my office,
pertaining to my office,
other than the compensation allowed by law.
other than the compensation allowed by law.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And now,
Again, we're going to have to count on all those other participants out there to be cheering for you, Karen. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, and now, Sarah.
Sarah, you're out there, right, Sarah?
I am.
All right. Will you likewise raise your right hand and repeat after me? I, Sarah Green Richardson, do solemnly swear
I, Sarah Green Richardson, do solemnly swear
that I possess all of the qualifications required by law
that I possess all of the qualifications required by law
for the office of council member,
for the office of council member,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Missouri,
and of the state of Missouri,
and all laws affecting constitutional charter cities,
and all laws affecting constitutional charter cities,
including the Charter of Webster Groves,
including the Charter of Webster Groves,
that I will faithfully perform the duties of my office,
that I will faithfully perform the duties of my office,
that I will not knowingly receive,
that I will not knowingly receive,
directly or indirectly,
directly or indirectly,
any money or other valuable thing
any money or other valuable thing
for the performance or non-performance of any act or duty
for the performance or non-performance of any act or duty
pertaining to my office
pertaining to my office,
other than the compensation allowed by law.
other than the compensation allowed by law.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Again, there's
And Sarah, where's your family? They're there cheering. Do
yeah.
we see them?
This one is.
Yay.
Hey, congratulations.
Good. And so we're delighted. Well, welcome to the three of you, and Emerson, welcome to a continuation of service. We are delighted to have you join us and looking very much forward to working with you in the time ahead. So congratulations and welcome, and great. So
Thank you, Judge Whitney.
All right.
yes, thank you, Judge Whitney.
Yes.
Yes.
Katie, I'm learning. I've got that right hand thing down now.
You do.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, dear.
Bye.
Thank you. All right, now that we have new council members, we're going to move along here with our agenda, and some of you can do the firsts and seconds as we go along. Neil, I have a question about this first public hearing. Do we need to read it and vote to postpone it, or just announce that it's postponed?
Just announce that it's postponed. It was at the request of the applicant. Apparently they were out of town and couldn't be there tonight. So it will be placed on our docket of July the 7th. So it requires no action other than it's just simply replaced at that time.
Okay, good. Then for anyone who's keeping track, it is the 630 South Elm Wireless Communications Facility that has been postponed until July 7th. So our second public hearing is the annual library budget report. And for that, we bring in Tom Cooper, and Tom will give us a report about the library budget. And so Tom, are you there with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
There we
You're
are.
on.
Hi, everybody.
Hi,
Good to
Tom.
see you all. It's good to see that Bud's still here. Let me just gild the lily a little bit and point out that during his tenure on the council, Bud has been the liaison to the library board. And he's been great. He's been, the perfect combination of collegial, helpful, and informative, and you will be missed on the library board. So thank you.
I'll miss you guys too.
Yeah.
I'll stop in and see you.
For new trustees for the library board, people with financial expertise.
There you go.
Did you all get a copy of the library's 2020-2021 operating budget? I just want to say it's a fairly typical budget for the library. Some of the items that I'd like to point out that are of interest, the adult books line, which is jumping from last year's amount of 79,000 to this year 90,000. Most of that will go to ebooks. Ebooks continue to expand in their popularity. We still check out an awful lot of print books, but it's pretty much plateaued as far as how many of those go out. The growth really is in ebooks. And if you roll down a little bit to adult audio, which is a few lines down under that, that's where we purchase the downloadable audio books. That's the real growth area right now. People are listening to more audiobooks than ever. So that's jumped from 21,000 last year to 30,000 this year. That's another big jump. We're trying to keep up with people's demand for those audiobooks. Interestingly, a downloadable audiobook costs 2 or 3 times what a downloadable ebook costs. They're a whole lot more expensive. I wish people didn't love them so much, but they do. So on the next page, you will notice that our building and grounds line has gone up a lot. We put a lot of money into that fund this year because we have some building things we're going to do. We want to fix a parking lot. We've got some HVAC work to do. And we're trying to get a sign for the front lawn of the library. All these years, I mean, it's only since 1950 and we haven't had a sign out front, but we're trying to get a sign for the front of the library lawn. So we hope to get those things accomplished this year. Those are the interesting items that have increased. Aside from that, it's a fairly typical budget for the library. In revenues, income sources, again, it's the typical things. One line that I'm worried about, what the board is really worried about, is passports. You know, a few years ago, we began taking passport applications, and it's been a good source of revenue for us. As you know, with the current COVID problem, almost nobody's traveling. We've been talking to the State Department this week. They're finally starting to put, has anybody applied for a passport recently? There are people who applied in February and have still not gotten their passports. The State Department says they're about 200,000 applications behind. So we'll start doing those probably in early July, and hope that people will come back and start getting passports again, because that's good revenue for the library. I don't, are you interested in how the library stands right now with its reopening plans?
Sure.
We are, for the past couple of weeks, we've been doing curbside service. People drive up and they pick up the books that they got. And everybody's really happy with that because, you know, for a couple months, they haven't been able to get any new books or anything. Come Thursday, we're going to open the building for our first attempt at having people come in. And we have fairly strict rules on distancing and masks and no unattended children. And a lot of the services we normally do are not available, such as passports or using the copiers or using the fax machine, any of the high touch kind of things we're not doing yet. We'll go for that way a few weeks, and then I keep telling the staff, just keep your eyes out and see what it seems like we can add bit by bit until we're back up to offering all the services that we normally do. But there's a lot of things that we won't do for a long time. Story times, the meeting room's just closed for a while until the county says that we can have meetings of over 50 people. And so it'll be a slow process of getting back up to full speed with all the services the library offers, but people seem happy for now with what we are offering. So that's kind of where we stand now. Any questions?
Does anyone have a question for Tom?
I have one question, Tom.
Yeah, David.
I appreciate everything the library's done. I'm excited to see the reopening plans. I think that you guys have put a lot of work and effort into it, and so I'm glad to see that you guys are doing that. I just had one more broader question, though, in regards to late fees and what Webster Groves Library is doing to late fees. I know there's been a push, not only in the city, but also in surrounding communities, including Kirkwood, to exclude or to eliminate late fees. Has Webster Groves Library discussed that, or is that in the works, or what is the consensus?
It was on our agenda through the spring, and we talked about it, but with the fears where revenues stand this year, the library board felt it wasn't a good time, not really fiscally prudent, to give up voluntarily a source of income. So we're not doing that quite yet.
What is the income that comes, just out of curiosity, what is the income that comes from late fees?
15 to 20,000.
Gotcha.
So it is a source of income.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a part-timer salary. So
thank you, Tom. I appreciate all your work.
Does anyone else have a question for Tom? If not, Katie, did we get any public response to this?
No.
Okay. So Neil, wherever you are, you can close this public hearing.
I'm here. I would move for the entry and admission of the copy of the budget report for the library and ask that the hearing be closed.
All right. And with that, we don't need to vote to close the hearing, so we can simply close the hearing. All right, let's move on to the third hearing, which is the proposed community development block grant funds for the upcoming 2021 budget. And Scott Davis, who is responsible for the community development block grant funds, has joined us. Scott?
Good evening, everyone. This public hearing is to discuss that community development block grant, which is a national program administered by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The CDBG funding seeks to meet one of three national objectives. One is to benefit low and moderate income persons. Two, prevent or eliminate slums or blight. Three, address community development needs with a particular urgency because existing conditions pose a serious and immediate threat to the health or welfare of the community. HUD provides a block of grants to St. Louis County, who then disperses most of the funds to subrecipients, who are municipalities and nonprofits. We've been receiving this grant from County and HUD for many years. Tonight's public hearing is the first step in the application process for calendar year 2021. We're applying for and expect to receive the same funding as last year of $33,300. For the past several years, council has chosen to use all the CDBG funds in the home improvement program. This is the cornerstone program of the CDBG, and it provides for 5-year forgivable home improvement loans to income qualified residents that live anywhere within the city limits of Webster Groves. This portion of the program is administered through St. Louis County's Office of Community Development, and individuals apply directly to them. The 2020 funds have been granted to 9 homeowners and 1 homeowner who is currently in the intake process. There are still 2 people on the waiting list with no current available funding. It is staff's recommendation that the 2020 funds of $33,300 also be directed to the home improvement program. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions, comments?
Just one question, Scott. So the map that you provided, the green area, it's only a dozen blocks, maybe. I know, well, as I understand it, that we're not limited in the home improvement program to that geographic area. But is it getting smaller? I worry that we're running out of eligibility, perhaps. And is that a fair thing?
That map is based on census data every 10 years. They made when they first came out with the new map after the 2010 census, they came out with it, I believe, 2016. It took them 5 or 6 years to get that map out, and it was completely different than it was previous or what it is now. And we had that map for about 2 years and included some various other parts of town that we really didn't believe were should have been included in that low to moderate income level. Last year, they reverted back to pretty much a geographic area that it is now. It's the same map from last year, I believe, and this year. Okay. And so I anticipate living, I would think, with this same map for the next 4 to 5 years. And okay. They come out with the 2020 census data and remap it off of that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have a question or a comment?
Mayor, can I make a comment? Could anyone not look at a picture of Scott like we have him right here and not think that that would be a great television show right there?
That's great. Great. Thanks, Neil. Okay, if there are no further comments or questions, I do have one, Scott. The 2 people who were not funded through the current funding, then they would simply go online for this next round, correct?
They're still in the queue, so as soon as there's more funding available, then they would be the next 2 that would be taken in. They take those as they come in.
Right.
As long as they're eligible and everything.
Thank you. All right, Neil, hearing no comments, do your magic on closing the.
I would move for the admission of the report of the Director of Parks and Recreation. Additionally, any staff materials that were relied upon, and in particular, the 2021 eligibility map that was referenced, that they be moved and admitted.
All right. And with that, the public hearing is closed, and we will go to resolution 2020-20. And Emerson Smith, could you call for that resolution, please? Unmute yourself.
Everybody needs to unmute.
Unmute there.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, Mayor, I'd like to call for the reading of resolution number 2020-20 and call for its subsequent adoption.
Second.
Resolution 2020-20, authorizing the city manager of the city of Webster Groves, Missouri, to submit on behalf of the city of Webster Groves, Missouri, an application for community development funds for calendar year 2021 to St. Louis County Office of Community Development, Department of Human Services, providing for specific programs to be undertaken within said city under Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 as amended.
All right, any comments or questions? Let's call for the vote.
Mayor Welsh?
Yes.
Councilmember Arnold?
Yes.
Councilmember Bliss?
Yes.
Councilmember Franklin?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander?
Karen, unmute.
Yes. There you go.
Right here, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Richardson?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Resolution 2020-20 has passed. All right, our next agenda item is remarks of visitors. We have 2 of those, and Jennifer is planning on reading them for us.
Timer. All right. Okay, the first one is from Joan McGivney, and it was sent on June 14th. Dear Mayor Welch and Webster Groves City Council members, as I reflect on the June 2nd, 2020 City Council work session and meeting, I was a tele-observer. I keep thinking about how City Council members reviewed the annual city budget in times of a pandemic that has changed our normal way of life, with the undercurrent thoughts about the death of George Floyd and the reality that Black lives do matter and that there must be justice for all. At the work session, the council made a decision not to open the Webster Groves Aquatic Center pool this year. It is unfortunate because there's a background and a coincidence between the pool and Black Lives Matter. Historically, from stories I have heard through the years, when the first pool was built in the 1950s, it was not opened because the city council members did not allow Black people to use it, and legally white folks couldn't use it either. The pool remained closed for a couple of years before a coalition of church and responsible civic leaders were able to resolve it and open it for all people of Webster Groves. In the 41 years that I have lived in Webster Groves, I found solace in my times at the pool, seeing the diversity of the people enjoying themselves, young, old, with no discrimination of ethnicity or skin color. I also thought it was caring outreach to see people of special needs using the pool. During the city council discussion, members referred to the dire financial times and how children would be affected. There was little mention about the mental health of parents of the children who have been home with their children since March and look forward to outside activities. There is no mention of senior citizens who need to stay active for health reasons to use the pool. At the meeting, I heard about the county restrictions on pool use and the council's concern about the health implications of participants, and I understand council's fiscal responsibility. Yet reviewing the budget, council is still planning on using $1.1 million of $9,725,776 reserves to meet its $18,994,307 budget. And from what I saw, this doesn't include the deficit of $248,000 shortfall if the pool is opened. I'm not sure if I am reading this correctly. It is prudent to have reserves for times like these, but this is a 100-year catastrophic pandemic, and if you have to use reserves, do it, i.e. add the pool to the list that should be opened. Following are my concerns/questions. Number one, I see that the Parks and Recreation Board last met in February. Did Scott Davis talk to any members to get their feedback about recreation? Who made the decision to keep the pool closed yet open the fitness center and ice rink? What will the expense and revenue numbers be for these facilities? 2, all the pools in our neighboring communities are opening their pools. What provisions are they making so that they can open? Could we use some of their ideas? 3, was there a consideration to have 4 2-hour shifts of 176 participants, county requirements of 25% of area, which would be about the total 700 participants that Scott Davis stated is normal. In that case, the revenue would not suffer. I realize that there must be some sanitizing done between shifts, but if the slide, I'm being told that it's next speaker time. Sorry. All right. The next one is from Dave Buck. That's from the 15th. Mayor, City Council, and City staff. Congratulations to Emerson, Karen, and Sarah. Emerson and Karen will bring the highest level of racial diversity ever to the council. But now the gender balance is out of whack with 5 women and only 2 men. Not necessarily a negative, but just saying. Bud, I shared my thoughts on your service in an earlier email. Thank you for the great person you are and for being a champion for One Webster. It's not goodbye, just see you around town. Number 3, I hope the first order of business for the new council is to finally get serious and fully committed about developing a new strategic plan for the city. I do not know what experience the rest of you have, but I've seen Emerson in action, and he has deep and long-term leadership and experience in strategic planning, and he is really good at it. Let him lead it and get the job done well. A fundamental of such a strategic plan are council goals. The last goals on the city's website are from fiscal year 2018 to 19, which I assume must have carried over with no changes into fiscal year 2019-20. But it is now time for fresh thinking and fiscal year 2020 to 21 council goals. For some time now, council goals have been guided by visional directions. The 2 top ones have been unchanged for years. ensure financial security, and foster a strong business community. Under each visional direction is usually a soft, qualitative, non-specific goal. In light of the turbulent times we live in today, may I please suggest a new number one visional direction for City Council: to teach, lead by example, and inspire each and every resident to follow one plain, simple rule each and every day: love thy neighbor. And that means all neighbors, regardless of gender, age, race, income, education, country of origin, religious or non-religious belief, and sexual identity. In other words, to be and act toward each other as one Webster, united, not divided. And here's the number one SMART council goal to go with it. SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. Each and every day, each and every resident says at least this one word to someone he or she does not know in our community: hello. It is not hard, but a simple hello is how we begin the process of reaching out, connecting our humanity, and including everyone in our greater community. Thank you. Peace, Dave.
All right, we will go on to our next agenda item, which is new business. And the only one thing that I have for new business is to update the council that the city manager search process is beginning. HR Gov is interviewing staff members this week to talk about their I guess, anticipations and skills and characteristics that they'd like to see in a new city manager. Next week, they will meet with us, individually, the city council members, and I've talked to all of you, except for Emerson and David, and please let's talk at the afterwards so that I can get a timing from the two of you. We'd like to set something up at the end of next week. The other thing that we want to do is also put together a list of stakeholders that we might like the search firm to interview. And so if you have some ideas about stakeholders, will you please send them to me or send them through to Katie so that we have that list that we can begin to take a look at. Perhaps we'll figure out some way to do some sort of Zoom meeting with the stakeholders. All of that, this pandemic and Zooming kind of complicates things, but we're working through that pretty well. So I wanted to update you. Emerson and David, please let me know about your availability this evening. Okay, thank you. We'll go on now.
Mayor, may I raise one other thing, please? It's
Yes.
Laura. Just a reminder, and we talked about this, well, actually, if you don't mind, two things. I would encourage us to get boards and commissions meeting again.
Yes.
There has been, I've heard from several of them, several members who believe they have business that they need to really act on. And I know we don't seem to be in a time where we know when we're going to be able to meet in person again. So I would encourage us to think about and come up with a plan to get that done. The second thing, so I would have brought it up in a work session. We didn't have one today. I want to call your attention to the letter that Emerson and I sent to everyone requesting that we schedule some work session time to talk about the demands that came from the students who organized the Uprooting Racism event. And that needs to, I think, on the schedule sooner rather than later.
Thank you. Thank you. There have been a number of events with a lot of different demands, and we might pull them all together at one time rather than an exclusive look at just one set of demands. We do have a lot of them that we might take a look at. Thank you. All right. Then we'll move on to new business, Resolution 2020-21. I need somebody to offer to call for that resolution. Would one of our new council members like to do that, Karen or Sarah? Oh, Sarah, I see you smiling. Okay, Sarah, all you need to do is say that you are calling for the reading and adoption of Resolution 2021, okay? Unmute.
Hi, Mayor. I'd like to call for the reading and adoption of Resolution 2020-21.
Second.
Resolution 2020-21.
Can I say something before we read that? I think that I would like us to discuss again, or at least entertain the idea of reopening the pool in order that the budget can reflect that. I don't think that we made a wise decision yet in closing the pool, and I don't think that we should adopt a budget that has a pool closure within it.
I'm going to suggest that we read the resolution first, and then we will have that discussion under the umbrella of that resolution. Okay?
Resolution 2020-21, adoption of the budget for fiscal year 2021.
All right. Now we have an umbrella under which to discuss that.
May I respond to that, please? This is
Yes.
Joanne. We did not amend the budget to remove the costs. So the pool costs are still in the budget.
So in other words, the operational expense that we're projecting of roughly $250,000 is included in this budget.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So I'm just going to move then and to move then to reopen the pool under Scott's proposed plan from last week and attach it to this resolution.
What?
Yes, Neil.
This is Neil. So I think you have a resolution at this point that has been read. There has not been a move to adopt it at this point. If your suggestion, David, is that you're moving to adopt resolution 2021, is that what you're saying?
I'm moving to amend the resolution.
Okay. But if the pool is already in there.
No, I agree with that. I don't worry about the budget now. I just want to reopen the pool. So I am moving to to amend this resolution to open the pool.
Well, you've now mixed two subjects into one resolution.
Resolution, yeah.
And again, I think that you have to have clarity. You have to have separation between the two. I think the budget gets adopted, and then if you're going to move separately to open the pool, that would be a different motion.
Why is there one subject to a resolution?
Because the only language that you have in this budget is the actual numbers in the budget. So again, it doesn't speak to
anything to a resolution.
I'm sorry, say it again, you were breaking up.
To a resolution?
Except Joanne has already said that the numbers are there in the resolution.
And I understand the numbers. I'm proposing something else, which is the reopening the pool. Not the numbers necessarily, but the reopening itself.
Okay, so if your motion is to amend the resolution and add a provision requiring the opening of the pool, there has to be a second on that, and then there has to be a vote on whether or not that gets voted on.
Absolutely,
So,
and that's exactly what I'm attempting to do.
All right, then you make that we'll make the motion and we'll see if there's a second.
My motion is to amend the resolution to permit the opening of the pool.
To specifically add the opening of the pool.
Correct.
Okay.
And I would like to second.
Okay.
Okay.
All right,
So you should
discussion. Yeah, we'll call for discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So I did get the letter. I did get the letter. I'm sure everybody did. But when I was reading that, one of the questions that I did have was, she pointed out, and there were two letters actually, but pointed out the safety concerns in comparing the gym to the pool, and which wrote in my mind some consideration, how is the gym more safe or less of a concern than the pool?
Is Scott Davis available? Steve, is Scott here somewhere?
He was. He left when you didn't need him.
I don't see, he's still on the list of attendees.
Well, I just moved him over to there. I think he was not.
Yeah.
He's got his hand up.
Oh, he does have his hand up. There we go.
Okay, can we put him in?
Yes, we're working on it.
Could you repeat the question, Karen? Or
Well, I was just curious as to one of the points that that was brought up in the letter about the pool were comparisons between the safety when looking at the gym, the fitness center, as opposed to the swimming pool, and there's not any use of like the showers, and there's no chairs, and there's no benches, and then we're staggering the amount of people that can come in there. And she was asking about how is the pool more of a concern from, I guess, a safety perspective than the fitness center.
Scott, can you speak to this?
A little bit. Now, I'm not a public health expert, so I didn't write the guidelines that came out from the St. Louis County Department of Public Health. The fitness center did reopen today. It was our first day of operations. There are several restrictive guidelines in place that came out from county. We're not allowing any shower or locker room usage in the fitness center, just restroom facilities. We moved several pieces of the cardio equipment, had to go into storage because we didn't have space for them, as well as about half of the cardio equipment went into the gymnasium out of the fitness center to spread those pieces apart. They have to be at least 10 feet apart, where previously they were 8 inches apart, some of them. So there is quite a few restrictions on the fitness side as well to reduce probability of transmissions, as well as sneeze guards at the front desk, taking temperatures of everybody who comes in, asking them a series of questions about whether they've had a temperature, loss of taste or smell, blah, 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 all those things. So there is concerns at the fitness center as well.
Scott, is it possible for you to explain to the council members why the decision was made to close the pool?
There were several factors involved. The restrictions that came down from county for the pool, with the reduced numbers that were allowed. Currently, we're under a 25% capacity restriction. The pool takes a much larger staffing load than the fitness center. You know, the fitness center has one person in the fitness center that can manage the whole fitness center, 1 to 2 people at the front desk checking people in, whereas the pool has 1 to 2 people checking people in, and then, you know, 10 to 20 staff members out on the deck between lifeguards and maintenance employees and things of that nature. So the cost load on that staffing issues is much greater on the aquatic side than it is in the fitness center. With those amount of reduced ability to have people in in the aquatic center, the hard number to tie down was the potential of revenue. I based revenue at a 60% of a previous year's revenue, which was less than $200,000. You know, and that left us with that almost $250,000 deficit. Again, that's based primarily off of salaries of lifeguards, the maintenance contract of our pool management company, and the potential loss of the revenue side from people not attending. I can tell you, I talked with a lot of my other parks and recreation directors around St. Louis County that opened their pools yesterday, and most of them were all under 200 people yesterday, which is, you know, about a third of the amount as they would normally have on a given day last season. So they're not seeing the numbers of folks coming in. They're not selling the memberships like they anticipated they would sell memberships. So that's where the discussion came from.
Scott, now that you've been through the process of adhering to the guidelines for the fitness center, does it make you feel any better about the ability to adhere to the guidelines that apply to the aquatic center? Or did you still see the same number of difficulties in trying to make that work?
I think we can make the guidelines work in the pool. Again, to me, it's the loss of people coming. You know, in the fitness center today, I didn't run any numbers after about 2 o'clock, but we had like 30 people that came to the fitness center day. The phones are ringing off the hook for the last 2 weeks about, are you going to open? Are you going to open? And today they're ringing off the hook, but nobody actually came. Or not nobody, but very few people actually came. So.
All right.
Yeah, and I just want to ask a couple questions. One, it appears based off your summary that the reason that we elected not to open the pool thus far is not due to your inability or the staff's inability to adhere to the county guidelines, but rather due to a loss of revenue. Is that accurate?
I would say that was, I mean, you guys made the decision, but I would say that
you
was
voted.
the decision.
And well, and I agree. I'm just making sure we asked for a resuscitation of the summary from Scott, so I was just understanding his understanding of what he thought council was voting on. And so, has there been other ideas floated around as to like how we can implore or use the entrance through the rec center to the pool and everything? Because that's another staff member that would be already employed that is letting people into the rec center. Can that person be used in order to let them into the pool? I mean, how many different reiterations of these guidelines or policies and procedures have we gone through to try to make our expenses the least amount possible?
We looked at a whole host of different scenarios in the weeks leading up to the last council meeting. You know, I was on the advisory commission board, whatever, that was helping county determine their guidelines. So I got to review their draft guidelines, myself and 8 other parks directors around the area. We got to review those guidelines before they were published and make some suggestions to try to minimize some of the restrictions they were putting in. So we got to see those a few weeks before the actual guidelines came out. And then I've been on conference calls every week with all the department directors in the area. We're all brainstorming all the different ways to do it. So yeah, we looked at the possibility of having sections of times that people can come in. There's a lot of pools that are doing that, to try to figure out a way to meet those restricted numbers versus just being open the whole day. You know, we looked at different hours, shortened, amended hours, and things of that nature. You know, I like to feel like I'm pretty creative and pretty logistic when it comes to things like this. And you know,
I thought
we
you
looked
were
round and round, and you know, there wasn't a great way. There's not a great way to do it under the
it's
situation.
difficult. It's difficult. There's no doubt in it, and it's clear to me that you and your staff have spent a lot of time in order to devise a potential to open it. So, Scott, I think I'm just going to piggyback off of Councilwoman Arnold here a little bit. In your opinion, do you think that you and your staff can satisfy the county guidelines if we were to elect to open the pool? Putting money aside, if we were, would you be able to just meet the guidelines that the county has imposed?
We would be able to meet the guidelines that the county has put out. I will say that one thing that could potentially be hard is we've already given notice to the pool management company that we were not going to have a pool season this year. So I don't know where they're at with reallocating those lifeguards and staff members that they had lined up to come to our pool. You know, we notified them the Wednesday after the last council meeting. So we'd have to go back and talk to them.
Thank you, Scott.
But we could institute the guidelines, yes.
I want to mention one thing that came up in our discussion that I think came from Councilwoman Arnold, and that was the danger that you put your lifeguards in when someone needs medical assistance. How do you give someone CPR when you're a young lifeguard and take care of all of those medical needs? That for me was a consideration. So, all right, so we have a motion on the floor to, Katie, can you read that motion again?
Oh, I think David would do a better job.
My motion is merely to amend the resolution that is currently before the table so that we can permit Scott to open the pool currently. And I think it's already been seconded by Councilwoman Alexander.
Yes, it is. All right, so let's go ahead and take the vote on that.
Councilmember Arnold,
I'm going to say yes.
Councilmember Bliss, Councilmember Bliss, can you unmute? Councilmember Bliss?
I know, I'm thinking, I'm
Thank you.
not convinced, but I have had second thoughts, so I will say yes.
Councilmember Franklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
No.
Councilmember Alexander,
Yes.
Councilmember Richardson.
Yes.
And Mayor Welch?
Mayor Welch.
No. Okay, it looks like we are about to engage in a rather substantial expenditure to open the pool. Scott, what do you think?
I serve at the pleasure of the city manager and the council.
I'd like to know what your opinion is, Scott. Not that you serve at our, is that a smart movement, opening up the pool?
Can I just say that I think that's a little unfair to put Scott on the hook right now, just after we've done that. I mean, to ask for a recommendation before the vote, but now we're asking him to say to, and it's not because I was on a particular side, but now we're asking him to, after the fact, to essentially say it was right or wrong. And I just don't think that's fair to him at this moment.
Well, and I agree with you to a certain extent, but we're putting him on the scene or the spot to make him make it work. And I don't think it's going to work, not for the safety and welfare of our employees and our citizens.
Council Member Smith, I feel like last time your concern was more about the budget than it was about the safety of the employees or the...
First and foremost was my safety of the employees and the citizens. And the budget was a secondary concern.
Okay. And I think that he's already, and I feel like Scott has already answered the question that he thinks that we can at least meet the guidelines. We can always close the pool. But if we can't meet the guidelines and we can't satisfy them, I'm perfectly fine with that. If safety is an issue, that is a very valid concern. I think that the budgetary constraints is not a valid concern at this given time. And that's my biggest beef with attempting to reopen this. But if Scott thinks that we can meet his staff thinks that we can meet this county guidelines, I think we should at least attempt. I think this gives our community a outlet. I think our community has paid their taxes in order to attempt to go to the pool if they choose to. And there's no doubt that we should, at every precaution, take in the safety of the lifeguards and those that work for the city of Webster Groves.
Council should be aware that if correct me, Scott, if you think something else, but it takes 4 or 5 days to fill a pool and to find out, if there's lifeguards available. There'll be a leak after we fill the pool. That's why you should consider a new pool 4 or 5 years from now. And just to be clear, Neil, I've never seen a resolution quite like this. It's my understanding if they vote this resolution down, then we won't have an operational budget for the city.
If they vote it down, we won't have an operational budget for the city because it's been attached, which is why I suggested that these were 2 subjects that should be separate.
Of course.
Now, I also think it had to be a 2/3 vote because there was no notice of the resolution or of the amendment to this resolution. However, you have that. You have 2 noes and 5 yeses, right? Is that right, Katie?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and let me just cut you off, Neil, and I apologize. I'm happy to do this separately, and I would vote on the budget independently, so long as I would have the opportunity to present this evening to reopen the pool and we can revote. If that's gonna make it easier and simpler for both a legality standpoint and also from a simplicity standpoint.
Yeah, why don't you vote on the pool first?
Okay.
So You have to amend the agenda though. So you have to add this, you have to amend the agenda in order to add this on. And I'm not trying to be pedantic.
No.
We simply, Robert's rules require that we do it.
Absolutely.
So what do we need to amend the agenda at this point?
So
And we need
yes.
a 2/3.
Yeah, well, yes, you would. So again, what you would do is someone would move to amend the agenda to include a vote regarding opening the pool. That would then get moved and seconded and then voted upon. And then if it passes, then you would simply vote on it, and that requires, again, another 2/3. If your numbers stay the same, you'll be in the same place.
Okay, all right.
And it will
So,
separate the two, and it's a much cleaner situation.
That's completely fair.
Could we deal with resolution 2020-21, get the budget passed for next year, and then deal with this pool business?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's do that. So let's go back. Do we have, Neil, go.
Well, you have a problem now, all right? So somebody's gonna, again, it just has to be clear in the record because your last motion was to amend this resolution. So at this point now, what David has to do is move to remove his amendment.
I will move to remove my amendment.
Do I have a second?
To remove your amendment.
Yes, my amendment
Second.
to the resolution.
Second.
Yes.
Okay. Should I call for the vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Bliss?
Yes.
Councilmember Franklin?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander?
Yes.
Councilmember Richardson?
Yes.
Mayor Welsh?
Yes.
Councilmember Arnold?
Yes.
All right, so that has been removed. Let's deal with the budget just with resolution 2020-21, correct, Neil?
Yes, ma'am.
Keep us legal, okay.
Okay.
So are there any questions about resolution 2020-21 before we have a vote on the budget?
So basically by adopting this as it is, that's not ending the conversation about possibility of reopening the pool. That's
Exactly.
correct.
Okay.
That's correct. All right,
Is-
let's call.
is this- sorry.
Go ahead, Sarah, please.
I assume this is the final opportunity to talk about the budget at all before it passes, and just being new and having watched the budget sessions but not participating beyond that, I have to say I still have some outstanding concerns and questions there, and I'm not sure what to do with those on an up or down vote at this point.
Can you talk about some of them?
Sure. My primary concern is the kind of overwhelming request we're getting from the community to really look at the police budget. And I realize it's very short notice where we are in the budget process and when those demands from the community came in, but it's hard to disconnect those. It's hard to go from Sunday to today and not see the connection there. And so I have a lot of respect for the work and the time and the energy and the thought that's really been put into the budget. And I don't mean to be dismissive of that. But I have some concern about what our community is asking that we didn't really take into consideration in this budget.
Anybody else? I think there are a lot of questions around this that we may talk about and deal with. My concern right now is to get this budget passed so that we do have an operational budget and a way to fund our services in going forward. And I realize for Sarah and Karen that this is a tough thing because this is a lot of information put on you very quickly. But we really do need to get this budget moving along. Normally you would have been with us for a couple of months and we would have had that discussion. We can always amend the budget throughout the year. I mean, we have that opportunity to do that as we go along.
Thank you. That's one of the questions I had because I am a little uncomfortable with the budget that I'm not real familiar with. And, but as you said, if it's possible to look at things and
Yes.
amend along the way, then.
Yes, it is always possible. And we do that from time to time. Something comes up and we need to deal with it. We do that in terms of amending the budget.
So I'm going to take this moment to renew my request that we actually print for ourselves a calendar that says when, I know that we're going to get monthly from Joanne in writing the revenue stream so that we know what sales tax actually is turning out to look like. But we talked about scheduling periodically the actual discussion of where we stand on our budget since we are uncertain about revenue. And we haven't actually done that. And I know I trust you all will come back to us, but it would make me feel better about the entire process to know when along the lines are we going to check in and make sure that we feel good about where we are, or we make some decisions if we need to.
Just if I can insert, this is Joanne. I had talked to Katie and we were working on putting it on a calendar, and it would be quarterly, not monthly. I thought that's what we agreed to, monthly, not, or quarterly, not monthly, but I would give monthly email updates. And then on a quarterly basis, it would be whatever council meeting is after the 10th of the month. So sometimes it wouldn't necessarily be the first council meeting, it would be the second council meeting in the month, because that's when we generally get the sales tax. So I can't give you an exact date, but Katie and I are working on that, and we can get that to you, but I promise you it will be on the calendar and we will get it to you as you requested.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
one quick question. Joanne, with your monthly updates on the revenue stream,
Yes.
If anything happens out of norm with the budget, you will include that in your update as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And my concern and fear is that we see something 90 days out and not aware of it until we get that quarterly update.
I won't do that to you. If I see anything immediately, I'll send an email to notify you.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's call for the vote on 2020-21.
Councilmember Franklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander,
Yes.
Councilmember Richardson,
No.
Mayor Welsh,
Yes.
Councilmember Arnold,
Yes.
Councilmember Bliss.
Yes.
All right, we have something to work with, and we'll make sure that our employees get paid come next month. Now, Mr. Franklin, if you want to make your motion to amend the agenda.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to motion to amend the agenda to vote on reopening of the pool.
Do I have a second?
Yes.
Call for the vote.
Mhm.
Councilmember Smith,
Can you call for the, can we have a discussion first? Mayor?
This is just to change
Oh, to
the
amend the
agenda.
agenda.
Yeah.
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander,
Yes.
Councilmember Richardson,
Yes.
Mayor Welsh,
Yes.
Councilmember Arnold,
Yes.
Councilmember Bliss,
Yes.
Councilmember Franklin.
Yes.
All right, so we've amended the agenda. Now we can consider a motion from Mr. Franklin on opening the pool.
Yes, I'd like to motion that we reopen the pool.
Is there a second?
Yes, I'll second.
All right, is there any further discussion?
Yes, I would like to say a couple things about my understanding about the first meeting where we talked about the pool. My understanding is that Scott did have reservations about carrying out all of the restrictions and staffing. So that coupled with the budget or the loss of revenue was why I voted the way I voted. So I just wanted to find out, Scott, what would be the time frame realistically to open the pool from today?
I do not think it could happen inside of 2 weeks. 3 weeks is probably be my guess. So you're looking at somewhere around, I don't have my calendar open, early July.
July 7th.
July 6th
July
or something
7th.
like that.
And then also, who would be responsible? I mean, is it kind of self-governing, the social distancing? Or, I mean, or is that staff's responsibility to kind of oversee that?
Both.
And I'm thinking about children.
Both. I mean, it's incumbent upon people to do it. As part of the guidelines from county, we would have to come up with a plan, and social distancing would have to be part of that plan. And if we are not, if at any time we are not in compliance with that plan, we would have to shut the facility down. So if there's people that aren't social distancing, who's the actual person that would be in charge of that would be the pool management company, as well as myself and my full-time staff. So likely there'll be some policing, for lack of a better word, with people, because in a pool it's not typical that kids that play in a pool keep 6 foot apart from anybody that's outside of their family. So
right.
What type of flexibility do we have in terms of the season and the opportunities to generate additional revenue in terms of going, because in my mind, and I'm sorry, I don't know if this is how this works, but in my mind, from what I always remember is you open the pool on Memorial Day, you close it on Labor Day. I don't know if that's how this works. Is there any opportunity for the pool to stay open longer and stagger shifts so that we can try to do something to positively impact the revenue?
I think that would actually negatively impact it. You're right. We do normally open Memorial to Labor Day. Typically, May and June are your highest usage months. Once you hit July, it really starts dropping off down to half of what May and June typically are in participation and usages. And then August gets even a little bit worse than that, because normally kids go back to school, families are doing their last vacation before school starts, that kind of stuff. And then, you close the first week of September. Going any deeper into the season, there are a couple pools around the area that go a little deeper into the season. I think Clayton normally keeps their lap lanes open until late September, but they've got they've got several rental groups with competitive swim groups that are in there renting those lap lanes, and they've got 25 some odd lap lanes versus our 6 or 8. So I think deeper you go in the season, the more negatively you would be impacted.
And isn't that in a typical season though? I mean, we are in an atypical situation in the essence that fewer people are going to go on vacations. There's a good possibility that children start school from home this year. So I just has the statement that you just made, did you take into account the atypicalness of where we are right now?
I would imagine it would still be the same. I mean, you may see a larger percentage of people coming right at the beginning because it's the new thing to do, which is kind of what it is in May and June. But I still think you'll see it tail off towards the end of the season. And again, keeping open even longer just increases your expenses. And you're not, at that point, you're probably not bringing in any daily admissions. We see very few daily admissions towards the end of the seasons. Those are typically your full season members that have already paid the full freight of the membership and are still coming.
Thank you.
Scott, has Shrewsbury opened their pool?
They have not yet. I believe they're opening theirs on Monday, next Monday.
if these pools are operating with such few people now, is there a possibility we could talk with the folks at Shrewsbury and try to figure out something where we might work with them?
That could be a possibility. We've had some of those conversations between different departments in our weekly calls. We've talked with Kirkwood a little bit about that. Potentially, you could do something like Maplewood normally does in a given year, where they allow several different municipalities, wards in the city of St. Louis, Brentwood, Richmond Heights, Rock Hill to come in. And there's some sort of subsidy that goes in there. That could be a potential that we could look into and to research.
It would seem to me that it could be a viable option, because if we're not talking about opening the pool until July 7th or so, we're talking about a month season. And if we could work something out now with some of the other pools that have decided to be open, our residents could use a pool sooner rather than later.
Correct. I think currently all the pools are restricted down to just residents or whatever they consider a resident, whether it's part of their school district or something like that, what have you. But so it would, I would imagine they would need to take that to their council, but it's certainly conversations that we can have if we are anticipating lower numbers throughout the whole season, which I think we'll see lower numbers throughout the whole season. And especially now that we've already, we're going to go 2 or 3 more weeks after we could have opened potentially yesterday. So I can certainly have those conversations. Yes.
So have the other locations indicated that they are anticipating lower seasons? I mean, I know they're anticipating lower numbers and lower people attending, but I was just thinking then if there's some type of a cooperation between the two, it might be able to help other areas with their numbers.
Yes, ma'am.
And allow our residents an option, because it's still people just having to stay at home with limited.
Yes, ma'am. I believe that all the pools are expecting to see a severely reduced number of people coming in, just from the fears that people have of COVID, the people that aren't ready to go out and participate in things like this yet, as well as all the cities are expecting to have significant deficits to operate those facilities this summer.
And, we could use some of our funding that we were going to use for the opening the pool to help subsidize some of our residents to go somewhere else.
Scott, how many employees do we normally have at the pool from this pool company we use?
It depends on the time of day and the day of the week and such, but typically you've got between 10 and 20 lifeguards on duty at any given time.
And the average age of those lifeguards?
Young college to 16, 16 to probably 21 is the average age. Probably average age is probably 17.
And those are the individuals we'll depend on to monitor the safe distance and making sure that we're complying with some of the CDC guidelines?
Yes, sir.
But you indicated that you think that we would be able to meet the guidelines, right?
I believe that the specific guidelines that county gave of us having to paint stripes on the pool deck to show people where to walk, to do cashless check-ins, everything's got to be, credit card, no touch type of check-ins, mandatory masks for patrons and staff, health screenings of patrons and staff, mandatory closures of the splash pad and the kiddie playground, the capacity restrictions currently at 25%, and those type of things that were specifically listed. I think we can meet those. The social distancing one is, it is much more difficult to say, yes, we'll meet that all the time. You've been out to any store, you know that just doesn't happen right now. There's always somebody that's right up on top of somebody else.
Scott, one more question. in your plan for reopening, it was the first phase was going to only allow the season pass holders to use the pool. And then 2 weeks later, we're going to go to daily. Or are you still looking at that option? Would we still look at that option?
I would recommend that still would be the case. Yes, sir. That seemed to be what everybody else is doing as well. You know, that they're only allowing their resident members to come in at first. There are a couple that are allowing resident dailies to come in, but a lot of them put out just for past members to start with, and then they're waiting to see how those numbers come in and how everything goes, and then grow that base as you get deeper into the summer, whether you allow daily admissions, whether you start allowing the pools that allow start coming in.
At the most, daily admissions will happen maybe approximately 2 weeks after the season pass holders come in. So towards maybe like July 21st, we'll start allowing daily admissions.
That would be likely, somewhere in that neighborhood.
So on that topic, don't you think we could leverage what the surrounding pools have learned? And if it turns out that first week, not many people have come, then I mean, isn't there some flexibility based on what our surrounding communities have learned in the process?
There will be, because if we go this route, by the time we're able to open, we'll be in the first week of July. So they'll have 3 weeks underneath their belts. So I will obviously be talking with those folks on a daily/weekly basis to see where everybody's at. We all did that this morning. Everybody was on a big email string of how'd yesterday go with opening the community centers. Did you have this problem? Did you see these numbers? That kind of stuff. So yeah, by the time we get ready to open, we could potentially amend that and go with where those other pools were sitting at that time frame.
God,
Yeah, go
sorry.
ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to ask one. There's nothing prohibiting us from opening the pool to non-residents. So if we're at a lack of interest, what prevents us from opening it to non-residents? Is there anything?
There is no council resolution or anything like that. It has been our policy and procedures, as far as I know back, that we don't allow. Well, I take that back. It used to have to be sponsored by a resident to purchase a non-resident membership. We have relaxed that last year, that any non-resident can purchase a membership at the pool. For last year, daily admissions of non-residents have always been required to come as a guest of a member or resident.
And the last thing I just wanted to say was the same generation that we're concerned about in regards to enacting or enforcing social distancing is the same generation that's out on the streets right now, not only asking for change, but fortifying and in fact getting change. I have no doubt that they have the ability, the capability, and the wherewithal to enforce social distancing and do it with safety and with intelligence.
I think it's time to go ahead and call for the vote on this resolution. And so Katie, let's do that.
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Alexander?
I'm sorry, I'm not clear. Are we voting to keep it open, or are we?
We're voting to open the pool on approximately July the 7th for about a month and a half.
Can I make a recommendation? I mean,
Yes, you can, please.
You guys asked for my recommendation earlier. It would be my recommendation at this late in the season that you would not open the pool.
Thank you.
Okay. And then, and again, one of the things that you mentioned earlier, Mayor, about possibly talking with surrounding municipalities to see if the money that we don't spend by opening the pool, if that might not be utilized to subsidize our residents in attending other places. I mean, how would that work?
That would be, Scott, would you be willing to do that? See?
I can certainly get on the horn and do that tomorrow and ask those questions to those directors. They're likely going to have to kick it to their city administrator, city manager, and potentially go up to their boards or commissions as well. But yes, I'll make those conversations.
Okay. All right, so we're going to call for the vote now. Katie?
Yes. Councilmember Alexander?
No.
Councilmember Richardson?
Sorry, I was distracted. The vote is on, like a yes vote is to reopen and a no vote is to not reopen the pool, correct? Okay. I'm going to vote yes.
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 Okay. Mayor Welsh?
No.
Councilmember Arnold?
Yes.
Councilmember Bliss?
No.
Councilmember Franklin?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
No.
All right, we have what?
4 noes.
4 noes. Thank you, Scott. Thanks for your recommendation. If you'll start exploring whether or not some of our residents who might be that interested can go to Shrewsbury or Kirkwood or somewhere, or Maplewood, that would be great. Thank you. All right, now we're going to go to the consent agenda. Are there any questions about anything on the consent agenda? I do have one, and that is this contract for renovations to the spray pool. Scott, when do you think we might expect to explore a new pool?
That is in the CIP budget. Don't have that in front of me. I believe it was fiscal year 23 that we were looking to potentially go to the residents on a no tax increase bond issue to renovate that pool with the hope that it would be built in and open by this 2024 season. I could be off 1 year. I could be 1 year earlier on that. It could be go out in 2024 and build in 2025, but just a few years down the road.
That spray equipment that we're spending a lot of money on, would that be something that we would use in a new pool? It seems
Yes,
to me
ma'am.
that the life of that is pretty long, so it would go to the new pool.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And Scott, if those are improvements or repairs?
Those are replacements. So the pieces that are in there were originally installed in 2003. We have been replacing those over the last 3 or 4 years. A couple pieces here, a couple pieces there. So these are the final replacements of those, and then everything in there will be less than 5 years old.
And since we're not opening the pool this pool season, do you have to do that replacement now, or can it wait?
This replacement wouldn't happen until, if approved, wouldn't happen until next spring and be ready to go for the summer 21 season.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, anything else? Then could someone call for the approval of the consent agenda?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to call for the approval and adoption of the consent agenda.
Second.
Councilmember Richardson?
Yes.
Mayor Welsh?
Yes.
Councilmember Arnold?
Yes.
Councilmember Bliss?
Yes.
Councilmember Franklin?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander?
Yes.
All right, the consent agenda has been approved. I'd like us to call for a closed session, and then we'll all get out of this, take a 5-minute break, which probably a lot of us would appreciate at this point, and then come back in on the second Zoom connection that has been given to you through Katie. So I need a motion to go into a closed session.
Yes, Mayor, I'd move that we go to executive closed session, RE number 3, Personnel, Missouri Statute 610.021, open paren 3, close paren.
Second.
I think we wanted to do something else on there too. Yes, Neil.
Number 4. Also.
Number four.
And I will amend that to also include number 4, negotiated contract, Missouri statute 610.021, open paren 12, close paren.
Second.
All right, let's call for the vote.
Mayor Welsh,
Yes.
Councilmember Arnold,
Yes.
Councilmember Bliss,
Yes.
Councilmember Franklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander,
Yes. Yes.
yes, Councilmember Richardson.
Yes.
All right, take your 5-minute break and you're gonna have to log into the, a different Zoom that Katie sent the information out for, and we'll do that in about 5 minutes, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, Jen, cut us off.
On your way out.